Welcome everyone to our weekly Dittofi No Code Nights webinar with the co-founders of Dittofi, Samuel and James, and I'm Tanya from Pro No Coders. We're going to get started in just a moment to learn how to integrate Twilio into our Dittofi app, but wanted to remind you that we have our Dittofi Bootcamp if you're looking for help learning Dittofi and how to use it to its fullest extent. You can go to pronocoders.com and just click on the button that says Dittofi Bootcamp at the top. And we also offer support for Dittofi in office hours. So if you are needing some help debugging or figuring out how to build a feature in Dittofi, you can join us in our office hours membership. We meet 7 times per week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, and Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific. And our members can ask us any no-code question they want, including Dittofi, and we do our best to get it answered. Thank you so much, James and Samuel, for being here today. And I'll hand it over to you, James.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Tanya. So what we're going to look at today is, so how to integrate Twilio into your app. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to go over what Twilio is, a couple of use cases where Twilio is used by other companies. And then I'm going to flip it over to Samuel, and he's going to actually show you how you can use the Dittofi module to set up Twilio integration inside of your application. So very quickly then to start with, Twilio is a communication as a service platform provider. So what does this actually mean? Basically, they give you a way to communicate better with your users. So whether you want to communicate with your users over text message, over email, you want to receive phone calls, send out phone calls, WhatsApp messages, and so on, they're able to take all of this different information that's being communicated with you, and you're able to then use Twilio in order to communicate better with your customers through all those different services that are available. And Twilio have an API that allows you to incorporate that directly within your application. So to look at some practical examples of companies that have done this, and I pulled this directly off the Twilio website, so you can go and read more about them there. They showcase Airbnb as a good example of a company which used Twilio in order to solve problems with communicating with their customers. So in the case of Airbnb, what happened, or the reason that they needed to have better communications with their customers, are that when they started to scale as a business, they started getting a lot of people signing up to Airbnb and booking or looking to book to stay at these short-term rentals. So when people were doing that, what Airbnb immediately realized is that the property owners were not responding to the people who were looking to do those short-term rentals. So what Airbnb had to do is they had to hire a bunch of people to effectively call all of the property owners and get them to accept the confirmation of the bookings, to actually let them know someone is to book at your property. Could you please accept the booking or reject the booking, so that the person can know they're able to stay at your property. So what they had to do is, after several months of running that manual process, obviously that added a lot of costs to their process of matching the renters and the people who are renting the property owners and the renters. So they then integrated Twilio, and then they started sending SMS messages out from Airbnb to the property owners to tell them, actually, you can, someone's just booked your property, could you please go in and accept? And that way they removed that step of having to do the manual telephone call between the property, to the property owners to let them know someone had booked their property. So that's an example, I guess, of a case when the company was scaling up and had to integrate or use Twilio in order to better communicate with their customers. The other use case that I found online was the use case for Lyft. So with Lyft, the way they originally used Twilio was that they used it in order to communicate between the riders and the drivers of the taxis or the shared ride service, which is Lyft. So when a driver, let's say, would be accepting a booking, they would then get a notification, and the rider would also get a notification to let them know that the booking was taking place. If the booking was cancelled, there would also be notifications that were sent out. When the rider reached their destination, there would be notifications. And so all that notification system was handled through Twilio. Lyft later extended their Twilio integration to also include their support desk. So then they realized that they were getting sort of tickets that were being raised for support from all these different channels. They were getting some that were coming in through email, phone calls, text message, WhatsApp, whatever it was that was coming into Lyft. And they used the product Twilio Flex in order to integrate, in order to provide an omni-channel support to the riders and the drivers and the users of that platform, who were the users of that platform. So those are just a couple of examples of the ways in which companies have used Twilio in the past, just to give a little bit of context as to why you might want to include Twilio in your application or Twilio integration in your application. So now we come on to actually building a Twilio app, and I thought I just wanted to give a very quick overview of normally what that kind of looks like and what the components are that are required in this process. So normally when we're thinking about building an application, we're thinking about building a front end, we're thinking about building a back end, which will be your application itself, which is running all your logic for your application. You'd be setting up a database and also running a server with all of that information on it, all of that code and all that data stored on it. And then, of course, you also have to do the Twilio integration as well. So at a very, very, very high level, this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be spending about around 20, 30 minutes setting up the Twilio integration and building a little front end for the application as well. So normally speaking, this process would take, let's say, to do this from scratch using code, it might take around maybe like a week or two, depending on what the actual application is that you're developing with this particular Twilio integration. So as we showed you last week, we've introduced this concept of Dittofi modules, and Dittofi modules are these pre-built bits of functionality which are going to enable you to install a section of functionality that you can then use within your application and that you don't have to code from scratch. So that's what we're going to be doing right now with Samuel, where he's going to be taking the Dittofi Twilio module and we'll show you how to, I think he's just going to show you how to send an SMS actually in this particular presentation, but you can also extend the Twilio module to do anything that's inside of the Twilio API. So whether that's making programmable voice calls, completing two-factor authentication, or whatever other features that they offer in the API, you can do that all within the Dittofi application, and you can do it all much faster than writing traditional code. So I'm going to flip over to Samuel now, who's going to share his screen and go through how you actually set this module up. And just a quick note as well before I start speaking. We decided to do this module this week because we noticed in the chat at the end of the session last time that people were asking about seeing the Twilio API integration. So if there's any other things that you want to see on these sessions, we are trying to listen to the requests that are coming in. So if you just let us know, and then we can create a session specifically geared towards something that you guys want to see. So yeah, just let us know in the chat, either like during or at the end of the session, and then we'll pick that up and we'll do that in next week's session as well, and in upcoming sessions if there's multiple things. So with all that said, I'm going to flip over to Samuel now, who's going to take over and start sharing his screen. There we
go. So come into the app here and just gone into this templates page to begin with. Let me close that down as well. So on this templates page here, on the first screen, you've got a list of apps that you can kind of get started with, install and begin with. And then if you click this little toggle button here, you've got a list of these modules that James is talking about. So the modules are the small bits of normally back-end functionality that you can install into a pre-existing app and use. Last week, we looked at installing these 4 different modules and how you might configure them. And today I'm going to look at this Twilio one here and how we can install this into an app and actually use it. So to begin with, I'm just going to click on this, brings me through to the individual module page. And I can just click this use button here and then pick the app that I actually want to install this into. I'm going to do my existing LMS one. Just click install. This will install the module and bring you through to this dependent apps screen here. This dependent app screen is going to show you a list of every single module that you've installed into your app that you're actually working on. So in here, I'm working on the this LMS app, but I've installed, if I look back under here again and go to dependent apps, I've installed these 5 different modules to add some more functionality into this app. So once we've done this, we've kind of installed the code that we need to actually integrate with Twilio. What you need to do after that is actually create an account with Twilio and get a couple of bits of information from it. So to do that, I'm just going to go over to this second tab here. I've already signed up for an account. If you haven't, you can just search the internet and it'll be one of the first links that comes up here. And you can just sign up. And when you sign up, this is the very first screen you're going to see. Actually, in fact, this is the very first screen you're going to see. So as part of their onboarding, they're going to tell you that in order for your app to work, you're going to need to get a specific Twilio phone number. This is the number that you're going to be sending your text messages from. You can read this through if you sign up, but I'll just tell you now, the other things that they're going to tell you, you need to get these key values down here, which basically authenticate your specific Twilio account. They'll give you a free phone number that you can use to start testing your app. But if you want to, and you see up here some like credits that you can use to test this out. But if you want to keep using this indefinitely at some point, I think you need to actually purchase a number and add your own credits to send the text messages, same way as you'd have your own normal phone number with like credit on it, for example. So actually these 3 boxes here have the values that we need for our app to function. We've got the phone number we're going to be sending the text message from, and then we've got these 2 values here, which basically identify and authenticate our app. These are the 3 main things you need to get once you sign up. And luckily you get these all from the very first page, so it's very easy to get started. Once you've got signed up and you've got these different values here, you can just step back to the Dittofi platform and you can come up to the Actions tab here. So for anyone who doesn't know this, a action is just a small bit of logic that's going to be taking place and running within your app. So for example, you'll have actions to log people in to your app, log people out, actions to do any kind of functionality within your app. What we're going to do now is build an action just to send a text message to begin with to test this out. So I'll just click the new action button up here. I'm just going to call this test, let's say, Twilio integration. Once you've created your action, first thing it's going to ask you for is the trigger. So this is what defines what's going to cause this action to actually run. For this example here, we're going to use the endpoint trigger because this lets me run the action from the kind of front end of my app on a button click. But equally, you might want to use like a schedule here if you want to send out, let's say, like bulk text messages every few hours or that kind of thing. But for now, let's just start with endpoint. Once we've done that, we're then going to get asked for specific events that we want to use within our action. So the events are the individual bits of logic that are going to be taking place within the action. So in our case, we want to add an event to actually send this text message. So I'm just going to do add event here. On the right, we'll get our list of events. And because we've installed this Twilio module down here, because we've installed that, I can go to the flow control run action event here, and I'm going to see an option to pick Twilio. And then under Twilio, I'm going to see an option to pick a particular action from this module. So this lets me run this create message action, which belongs to the Twilio module. So this saves me actually having to configure it. Once I pick that action, I'm going to see a list of values. Most of these are quite obvious. So the body is what's going to get sent in the text message itself. So that's the actual message we're going to be sending. The to is the person we're going to be sending or the phone number, I should say, we're going to be sending our text message to. The from is going to be the phone number that we're sending our text message from. And these two values here, the account ID and the account SID, are taken from the console here, the Twilio console. And these are the values that I said before, identify and authenticate your Twilio account. So first thing I'm going to do is go down to the global variables section over here. So the global variables I can use to create variables that can be accessed throughout my entire app. And typically I would use this to store things like this account SID and auth token, because I might want to use this in lots of different places in my app. So what I can do is I can create a variable here, which I can just call, say, Twilio token. Well, in fact, I might have already done this before. Yeah, I added this one before, just keep my token private. But I'll create another one here called, let's say, Twilio account. Well, what do they call it here? SID. Or just account ID, actually, to call it that. And then I can just copy this and paste it in there and save. And then I might create one other one here, which is going to be my phone number. So I'll just call this one Twilio phone number. And again, I will copy that from here and just paste it in. So now I've got my account ID, phone number, and token. These variables can now be used anywhere within the app. So it's stored all these values for me, and I can use them in my actions and other places within my application. So when I come back to this action here, I've got to configure these different inputs to my create message action. So for my account ID, I can now come up here and search for that Twilio account ID. The SID, I can find this is actually the Twilio token I'll use here. And then the from can be my Twilio phone number. So we're going to send a message from my Twilio phone number, and it's going to use these credentials to kind of authenticate and tell Twilio that it's me that's actually sending this, or my application that's actually sending it. And then finally, I've got a to value and a body. So the to is the person I'm sending the message to, and the body is the actual message. So I've also added, just for test purposes, another variable in here called my phone. It stores my phone number in. And then the body, again, just for test, I'm just going to add a test body here. And let's just say hello to begin with and save. So now I can use this particular test body here and save. That's enough actually to configure sending like a test message. When the message gets sent, it's going to send all these values to the create message action in Twilio, in the Twilio module, and that's going to send the text message, and it's also going to return some response, which basically tells you if the message has sent successfully or not. So I'm going to take this response actually, and if I go back to my trigger section here, I can use that response as my response variable to this action that I've made. And this means when the action runs, I can actually print out the response to make sure it's run successfully. If there's some error, like I've got the wrong account ID or something like that, then it should also show me that particular error so it can help kind of debug the thing. In this example here, we've just used this hard-coded test body to actually send the text message. And I've also kind of hard-coded the phone number that I'm going to be sending it to begin with. But I'm going to show you in a minute how we can set these more dynamically, how you would do in a proper application. And then these values here actually will always stay the same. So let's just come here a second and try running this. And we get, 200 code back, which means the thing ran successfully. And we get this response is the response we get back from that Twilio module. So it tells us who we sent the thing to and so on. And then on the phone, if I hold that up to the screen, if you see that, you can see the text message come in here. So we know that that's worked successfully. That's the basics of actually, sending a text message in the first place. Once you can do that, you can use it for a whole variety of things within your app. So in this one here, I'm going to do another example where we can come and kind of integrate this into our sign up flow here. So at the moment, if I look at this app that I've been building, when someone comes to sign up, they put in a first, last name, email, and password. We could add an extra field here for phone number, for example, and save their phone number and send them a text as they sign up to the app. We could also add in, we could then use that number for other things within our app, such as two-factor authentication, or we could use it to send them notifications, that kind of thing. So to do that, I'm going to come first off back to my sign up action here. This is the action that actually runs when the user clicks on this submit button here. So for example, I can come and enter in some values here and then run this. And I'll see at the moment that I get a new user created in my users table with the right particular values. So what I'm going to do now, let's start off just by adding a phone number column as well, so we can capture the user's phone number. For this, you can use either the phone number type or the text type. Actually, they both do similar things. And let's uncheck this allow null values option here, because we're going to say that when the user signs up, they have to enter in a phone number. Phone number would include things like the area code and so on, which is why I'd use a text rather than a number field for that. So now we've got an additional field. I think we need this column here. Just delete that. So we've got an additional phone number column here in our sign up flow. So we're going to need to add that to our sign up box, and we're going to need to add it in our sign up action over here. So if I click on my triggered by endpoint section up here and then scroll down on the right, I can see all of the variables that I'm actually sending to this action. So currently it's just email, first name, last name, and password. I'm going to add in here now something for phone number as well. Save that. So now when I go to run this, test it, I can now enter in a dynamic phone number. Then there's a few things I want to update in here. So first off, in my create event that I've got here, I can come and add my phone number, so I can actually save the user's phone number when they sign up. Do OK, save. And then after this, I can then add in some add in the module to actually send the text message upon sign up as well. So in my case here, I've got a create event to begin with, and I'm logging the user in and doing a whole bunch of other things afterwards. So I could probably add this in anywhere really. I might just put this one at the bottom. And let's do a run action again. And let's say I want to run the Twilio action again, and I want to pick the create message one again. So again, for my account ID, I'm going to use this Twilio account ID. And then here I'm going to use the token. So again, this is why it's useful to store these as global variables, so I can use them in lots of different places within the app. Now the to person is going to be the person who's actually signing up. So I can take the phone number on sign up. The from is going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to take the Twilio phone number and send from them. The body in a minute will change this, something more useful, but just for this first test here, let's actually just put in this placeholder variable that I've got here and save. Now when the user signs up, we're going to save their phone number and we're going to send them this text message here. One thing you might have seen in some other apps is sometimes when you sign up, they send you some random like 4-digit code, and then you can then enter that code in at a later point to kind of verify the phone number within the app. So if we wanted to do something like that, I could add another event above here. And in this event here, I could use the password generator event, which basically allows you to generate some unique random text string. So this could be like generate random token. When you use this event, it's going to ask you for things like how many characters should your token be? Should it have lower uppercase numbers and so on? So for the character counts, I could just add a variable up here, which could be a number variable, and I'll call this character count, and I could give this value of like 4, for example. And then this could be my character count. Actually, I'm going to do one thing slightly different here. I'm going to just remove this for a second. I'm going to add this at the top instead. So I'll just add this event up here. Otherwise, the same thing. I'll show you why in a second. So I'll do password generator again, character count. That's going to be equal to 4. And then for these ones here, I can just use either true or false values. So define what particular things I should include within my generated password. So let's say I can include any of these values actually. And then for my as is going to be the resulting generated password. So let's call this generated password. Save. So now that generated password I could use as the body of my text message. So I'm texting them this 4-digit code, for example. So description could be create message with generated password. If you wanted to write a more formatted message in here, including the password, you could do that as well. Look at that in a second. But for now, just sending the generated password. So up here, let's just generate password. The text. So there's different ways you could do this and different services that you could use, but just for a very simple example, we might have another field here, which could be like phone verified, which would be a checkbox value. We could say, don't allow null values. So this always has to have a value. And then we could say default this to true. So when the user signs up, actually, I should have defaulted that to false, thinking about it. When the user signs up, we want to have this by default as false, so it's unverified. And then later on, we let them verify it. And then that token that we generated, we could also just store here as well. So this could be phone, that's why I had phone token, which could be a text field as well. And then in my action, when the user signs up, I'm going to store their phone number. And I could also store this token that we've generated. We could have phone, sorry, this should be the generated password, which you might want to rename actually this to, let's say, phone token. So now we're generating this 4-digit token. We're storing it in our table alongside our user and their phone number, and then we're sending them a message with that token in. So the user's then going to sign up. They're going to get this token sent to them. So we could then have one other action in here, which they could actually run to verify their phone number. So we could do new action here. We could call this verify phone number. Maybe that should be verify phone number, like so. Add trigger. Again, we're going to use an endpoint, so we can run this from the front end of our app. When we're verifying our phone number, then the workflow is going to be the user will send the token that got generated. So this could be some random token like this or whatever. So the user is going to send that token to the action. We're going to make sure they sent the correct token. And if so, we're going to update the phone verified column to true. As another point here, at the moment, I'm storing this as plain text just for this example, but you could also use the password column type as well if you wanted to hash these tokens before you've stored them. But for now, if we go to this trigger by endpoint section here, a few things I want to add. I want to set an authentication profile. So this means my user has to be logged in at the point of going to verify their phone number. And then I also want to make it so that I can send the token that I've got to this action. So I can add another query variable down here, which I'm going to call phone token. And I can now send this token to my action. So what I'm going to do now is add an event here. And in this event, I think I can do a return event. In my return event, I can use this to say I want to exit my action based on a specific condition. So my condition is going to be if the current user token is not equal to the token that I've sent to the endpoint, then I'm going to exit. When I exit, I can include some error code and some error message. The error code I'm going to use is one that I've stored in my global variables, which is this unauthorized code. If I come and check the global variables section and look at the unauthorized code, that's just going to return a number, this 401 number, which is a code to tell my app that the user has entered in the wrong phone token. And I can also include some more human readable error message here. Let me just check under my global variables again. I've got an unauthorized message here as well. So I might just reuse that here as well. Let's do unauthorized message and unauthorized message and then save. So now when the user goes to verify their phone number, if they've entered the wrong phone token in, it's going to throw this error code and this unauthorized error message. Otherwise, I'm just going to proceed with the action. I'm just going to use a update event. And I say I'm going to update my current user. And I'm going to update the phone verified column and set it equal to true. You could use a similar workflow for verifying emails as well. There are some other ways of doing it, which we can talk about at another time, but it's a simple example. So here I'm just going to say exit if current user phone token not equal to phone token. So then the last thing, I guess, will be to actually update my front end. So if I come across now to my front end, I'm probably going to get some error here saying that I'm missing a particular field. Let's go and fix that. If I come to my sign up one here, in this sign up action we made, there's a particular event on the front end to run this back end sign up action. So previously this just had the first name, last name, password, email, and so on. So now I need to add the phone number as well down here. So let's go ahead and do that. If I come at the moment, this is all coming from this sign up variable, which is a custom model variable. So if I come here and look for my sign up custom model, I can add phone number here, save. I can now use phone number. So it should be sign up phone number and save. So now this is going to send my phone number to the backend as well. And let's just open up this modal on the front end. So I'll do show. And then I'm just going to come here and add one extra field, which is going to be my, move that out of the way, sorry. It's going to be my phone number here. Underneath each of these, we have some error messages that can display. So let's just switch this one to the phone number error. And this is now changed this so that this input box is attached to the phone number variable rather than the password one. So we just copied and pasted that. So now when we come and submit this, it should take whatever the user's typed in here, put it into my sign up variable, and then send that to my backend to initiate that entire workflow. So let's just come here again and see if I come to my sign up one. Or in fact, actually, let's just open this up in the preview mode. Oh, wait, let's finish building. Just open this up in preview. And let's see if I do sign up, and I have to change this to random number. And I'm wondering what phone number to put in here. Let's just put in a random one. Hope it doesn't break it. But it's hidden anyway because we accidentally set it as a password field. That's fine. Give me 1 second to check for a real phone number. And let's just do 16 more characters. Okay, I guess that signed my user up. Let's see. Yep, I just got a text message through on the phone. My text message has got a random code in it which says L*HZ. So if I was to come to my verified phone number action here, go and run this now. And let's try just doing this. Now we get this error, unauthorized access. Now let's just try deleting that number 1 and running this. Now we get a 200 message. So the number on my phone, I don't know if you can see that, but it's this L*8Z. So when I enter that incorrectly, that gives me the 200 code, whereas when I entered it in incorrectly, we got back the unauthorized code there as well. And then in my actual table, we just actually remove this phone number column a second and refresh this. Okay, yeah, so now we can see the L*8Z one here, and we can see their phone number is verified. Let me just try with different one here. Okay, yep, so now I get another one coming in. Again, I've got text. So you can see here, phone token that's been generated. You can see this is set to false at this point. So if we come and run this again now, then this is going to give us our 200 and update the particular value here to true again. These other ones are already set to verified because we didn't have the phone number concept when we actually made this. So what we could do now is, I guess we'd want to have some box on our first page and we can actually run this. So let's just put the front end action in for that now. We could create a new front end action here, which I could call verify phone number. And then I could come back out of here. I'm going to create one variable here, which could be, we could call this endpoint input, as we have done for these other ones. So EPI, short for endpoint input, underscore verify phone number token. Save that. And then in my front end action to actually verify the phone number, I could do add event, run endpoint, pick my endpoint, which was verify phone number. I could take the token, send that. I'm going to get some response code back. I'm going to use that response code to basically verify if it's run correctly. So I'm now running this verify phone number. I can then use a condition. I can say if response code is equal to success code. So if I get a 200 code back rather than a 401, I know that this is run successfully. Then I might want to do something inside here, like show an alert to say that this is successfully verified. So let's say verify phone number success message. So here I could just do a, let's see if I do, alert here, and I can pick my verify phone number success message. And then on the other one, I could use a different condition. I could say if response code is we could either say not equal to 200, or you could say it's equal to 401 if you want to be a bit more specific, but keep it simple to say it's not equal to 200. Then I could add another one here, which could be verify phone number error message. This could be error verifying, however you spell that. Not like that. Let's see, verifying phone number. There we go. So then inside here, I could do a different alert. And this one, let's see, we could do alert again, and this could be to show error message. So let's just do the error message up here and save. So to finish with, I'm just going to create a separate page for this, but we can think about how to integrate this into the existing design. But just to show the workflow, let's see, I think this page is empty already. Just delete some of this stuff on here. Let's just add a input box onto this page here. So I'll add a text input in here. This text input I'm going to bind to my verify phone number token, so I can type in my token in here. And then underneath here, back to let's add a button. And on that button, I could say on click verify phone number. So now when we click this button, it should take the contents of this box and send it to our verify phone number backend action to do what I was doing manually here before. So let me just find the page again. So we're going to go to this page to do that. And let me just preview this. Oh, and wait for 1 second while this builds that. Actually, in fact, I can just refresh this. Let's sign up. Or in fact, let's see if I do. Maybe I can just go to the page and take the last person that signed up. Let's try that. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so now we get successfully verified phone number. Let's try putting in something else. This time it's error verifying phone number, like so. The other thing we might want to do just in the last minute is in this verify phone number here, we probably don't want to allow people to run this if your thing's already been verified. So let's just add another condition here and say return if current user phone verified equals true as well. So or equals true. You could also add an expiration as well if you want this token to expire after a certain point in time, for it to add another column here and add that to our condition. Or there are, multitude of ways we could actually do this. But for now, that kind of completes the example. So just to recap quickly, we installed the Twilio module here. I've used that in my sign up action, along with a password generator to send the user a unique 4-digit token every time they sign up. That token we've stored in our table over here. And then we've just done a check to make sure that and then we allow another box where the user can come and enter that token in, and we just do a check to make sure they've entered in the right token. And if they have, then we update the phone verified value equal to true. So I think that's enough example for now. If there's any outstanding questions, want to go through or anything.
I don't see any in the chat at the moment, but I did have one question myself, maybe that can be interesting for other people as well, which was to do with how or what the pricing looks like on Twilio. I don't know if you've looked at that already.
Have not. So it'll be difficult for me to answer.
Okay, fair enough.
And then, yeah, I'll have to
give it. I noticed they give you some credit on your initial trial, right?
Yeah, so that was about. Doesn't seem to have gone down, even though I've sent a whole bunch of messages. I'm not sure.
I think it depends on where the messages are going as well. So it depends on.
I believe that
like country.
$0.075 per message, at least in the US.
Okay. It's on this tab here.
Jordan says $0.01 or less for a domestic SMS. Mike says MMS can get a bit pricey. Did anybody else have any questions about what's happened? Stuff that's been through at the moment. Is there anything else as well that you guys would like to see in next week's session that maybe is a bit more specific?
Yeah, very curious about requests. Anybody have? Google Maps integration.
That sounds good. Is there a particular part of Google Maps you'd like to see, Mike? Like a particular set of endpoints? Display maps with markers. Okay. Something we can take a look at for next week.
Jordan's asking, have you tried receiving SMSs as an extension to the example send we saw today?
Say that again. What's that?
Have you tried receiving SMSs back into the app?
No, I've not tested that. That's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that would come up. But I guess I'm here somewhere. Yeah, I can test that out.
Yeah, I just recently had a use case. I'm building out an SMS help desk, actually. So you just use the phone number to match the record of the user. So the incoming phone number comes in by webhook.
Oh, yeah. That makes 100% sense. Yeah.
And then if you want to get fancy real-time updates using WebSockets. So yeah, we could use the primer on WebSockets for sure. I agree, Mike. I think that's a good idea. And then there's a lot of things you can do with this. Ryan would love to expand on this to potentially send a message to all users after sign up. So bulk SMS messaging. Or do you mean bulk messaging or just send like a welcome message after sign up? Oh, okay. Yeah, so sending bulk messages. I've seen a use case for that. I have a client who's built, and he's going to need to build it in Dittofi now. He's built an app where you verify the identity of someone who wants access to a school. So they go to the desk at the school and they get issued an access pass. And in emergency cases, he sends bulk SMS out to everyone. So. Perfect. Well, thank you everyone so much for being here. We will be here next week with maybe some Google Maps stuff, which would be awesome. We're gonna move into office hours. So thank you so much, James and Samuel. Did you have anything in closing you wanted to say?
Not right now. I think that summarizes everything for today.
All right, perfect. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.